Hmm. Faithfully sharing values and interpreting great books from around the world. Oh, hello. This is Sally's Book Talk, and today we're diving into the book, The Spirit of the University. So, what exactly is the spirit of a university? Drew Faust, Harvard's first female president, stated at her 2007 inauguration, a university's spirit lies in its special duty to history and the future, not just the present. Quote, wow, this really sparked a big reaction back then, because in the early 21st century, folks were anxious about the uncertain new world, wondering, what kind of people does future society need? Where is American higher education headed? So President Faust gave a public response at her inauguration. Meanwhile, in China, educators widely believe a university's spirit forms through its own existence and growth as a unique spiritual achievement of civilization. We explore a university's traditions to define its meaning. All right, so how do we actually approach a university and uncover its spirit? The authors, Pu Shi and Chen Sai, graduated from Peking University's School of International Relations and School of Journalism, respectively, both senior editors at Sanli and Life Weekly. But their aim is to give Chinese people firsthand insights into world-famous universities and broaden discussions on student development, university roles, and education systems. So, um, through 7 years of on-site visits, Pushi and Chensai explored the charm, character, heritage, and essence of seven top schools like Harvard, Yale, and Stanford, presenting a full picture endorsed by Yu Minghong of New Oriental and Chen Chunhua from Peking University's Business School. For everyday folks, understanding what elite universities pursue can help clarify why we learn and who we want to become so we face the future more calmly. All right, let's dive into these seven universities. We'll cover them in four groups. First, Harvard and Yale. Second, Stanford and MIT. Third, Oxford and Cambridge. Lastly, Heidelberg University. Okay, starting with Harvard and Yale. Unlike Europe or elsewhere, Americans invest huge wealth and ambition in higher education. They see universities as a fair, efficient way to screen elites, pushing the brightest young minds to society's top to fulfill their potential for better leadership. In American universities, Harvard and Yale are the symbols of elitism. To outsiders, these universities possess immense wealth, power, and glory. They're not ivory towers, but empires where knowledge and ideas fuel their power. Through both competition and collaboration with the real world, they fiercely defend elitism. All right, let's start by discussing Harvard's elitism. In the 1930s, when Harvard evolved from a New England college to a real university, its undergraduate college's status became inseparable from aristocracy. On one hand, the undergraduate college was controlled by Boston's bankers, lawyers, or political families. It wasn't known for serious academics, but more like a clan's social hub. Back then, many Harvard professors were social elites, first gentlemen, then teachers, and only possibly scholars. On the other hand, most Harvard students came from New England and New York, or were wealthy kids living in Harvard's Gold Coast luxury apartments. Even today, Harvard has become a more accessible elite university, but aristocratic imprints still linger hidden on campus. For instance, at Harvard, there are clubs named after animals like porcelain, bee, and owl, representing the top aristocratic social circles. Members come from elite families, wealthy, powerful, well-connected, exclusive, and secretive. These clubs enforce strict aristocratic hierarchies. Non-members get relegated to basements, drinking keg beer and competing for less attractive partners. But if you're in the Owl or Bee Club, even the most charming women compete for your favor. Even President Franklin Roosevelt once said that failing to join the Porcelain Club was his life's biggest regret. The club's influence at Harvard is undeniable. So how did Harvard, deeply marked by aristocracy, gradually transformed into a national, accessible elite university? The turning point came 80 years ago. Then President James Conant was frustrated that the school was full of students from political and wealthy families with a closed circle, so he started attracting new talent. SMMEHS. especially from Midwestern public universities.
Thus, he decided to select students based on individual talent, not background, and created two systems to drive this.
This transformation, one was to admit poor but talented students through full scholarships. Another measure was to firmly use entrance exams to screen for geniuses. Conant established a new sense of self-worth beyond social and economic hierarchies. Academic and intellectual excellence. The aristocratic castle lowered its drawbridge, allowing the masses of elites once isolated by walls to enter the university. Thus, Harvard created a knowledge elite class, young people with intelligence, talent, and creativity, who now share power with the social aristocracy possessing wealth, power, and connections. But in recent years, Harvard has faced significant criticism due to grade inflation. In 2001, the Boston Globe published an article titled Harvard's Quiet Secret: Grade Inflation, pointing out that 91% of the class of 2001 graduated with honors, whereas in the 1950s, that figure was less than 40%.
Among them, humanities saw the most severe grade inflation, exceeding social sciences and natural sciences. This suggests Harvard is losing its ability to identify excellence, and the credibility of the elite class is gradually eroding, making it especially alarming.
Unlike Harvard, Yale's elitism always carries a moral pressure unmatched by other universities. At Yale, there's a noble consciousness, never publicly stated or clearly defined, but highly valued, that of serving society and contributing to the nation. Roughly estimated 75% of Yale undergraduates have engaged in community service, such as helping at community kitchens, tutoring disabled children, or giving campus tours to visitors. And much of this work is voluntary and unpaid. Hillary Clinton, while studying at Yale Law School, worked at the Yale New Haven Hospital Child Study Center and has consistently focused on welfare issues for underprivileged children. So, the difference between Harvard and Yale can also be seen in the messages on their diplomas. Harvard's diploma concludes with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereto, whereas Yale's diploma ends with all the rights and responsibilities appertaining thereto. The former emphasizes individual rights. The latter focuses on social responsibility. As Yale's anthem sings, "For God, for country, and for Yale." In Yale's view, this represents a broader mission beyond merely educating people. Because of this, compared to graduates from other universities, Yale graduates make more diverse choices. Take Yale Law School as an example. Graduates can go to law firms and courts, or to government agencies and nonprofits, even taking low-paying legal aid jobs. Hearing this, you might wonder, since studying law abroad is so expensive, do only wealthy people choose jobs like legal aid? Actually, not in such cases. The law school may waive students' loans or tuition, enabling them to take lower-paying jobs without financial worries. Though Yale has become more pragmatic facing external pressures, this idealism persists today. Still, while Harvard and Yale differ in elite cultivation goals, they converge on what students should learn. Both follow liberal education principles. What is liberal education? It's education guided by free inquiry, without preset goals or career links. Actually, Aristotle first proposed liberal education, distinguishing vulgar lives of labor from noble lives of contemplation, aiming to develop reason and virtue. General education developed from these liberal education principles.
Unlike specialized education, it has no rigid divisions. Students grow freely through diverse choices.
General education is a humanities-focused approach that transcends utility and practicality. But general education also faces challenges, partly due to Americans' inherent pragmatism, always asking what's the use. Thus, humanities like philosophy and art history have faced heavy skepticism in recent decades. The Wall Street Journal reported in 2011, 17% of Harvard and 14% of Yale graduates went to Wall Street. These students read Descartes and studied dinosaur extinction, yet took jobs completely unrelated to their studies. Meanwhile, post-War II, top U.S. universities succeeded in research, attracting Nobel laureates, especially as industry partnerships boosted STEM funding, squeezing humanities' resources. In this battle for liberal education, Harvard and Yale stand united. Since the 1940s, Harvard has divided undergraduate courses into three parts: majors, electives, and general education. Majors can be chosen and changed freely, even the field itself. Only general education courses are mandatory, prescribed by the university. This represents its proactive approach to a young person's four-year education, embodying its core attitude toward knowledge and learning. Near one, incumbent, end quote. And Yale's President Levin publicly stated that if a student graduates from Yale with highly specialized knowledge and skills, is the biggest failure of Yale's education. In his view, the heart of Yale's undergraduate education is liberal arts, cultivating critical independent thinking that enables one to excel in any role and master any subject with ease. Let's briefly recap. Both Harvard and Yale defend elitism and liberal education fiercely, but the former focuses more on accessible individual elites, while the latter leans toward nurturing social leaders. At the same time, both firmly uphold liberal education's role in their teaching systems amid this battle. Next, let's look at the second group. Stanford and MIT as top American schools. They have a unique STEM-oriented character. Here, you find exceptionally intelligent engineers, curious, focused, rigorous, and dreamy, using tech to change the world and achieve self-fulfillment. In the US, there's a saying, if you ask a student, what do you want to impact? At Caltech, the answer might be, I want to impact physics, math, or chemistry. But at Stanford, the most ambitious answer is, I want to impact humanity. Oh, it can be said that at Stanford, everyone, students and professors alike, thinks about maximizing global impact with minimal resources, echoing Silicon Valley's philosophy right next door, where giants like Yahoo, Google, and Apple started with just one or two founders. Therefore, in the author's view, Stanford is an incubator for dreamers, with entrepreneurial spirit as its fundamental essence. It's deeply ingrained in Stanford's DNA. Why do we say that? First and foremost, the founder Leland Stanford was an absolute dreamer. In 1852, his law office on the East Coast accidentally burned down. So at 28, he ventured alone to the West, becoming a Republican leader and governor of California. He also served as a U.S. Senator and built the western section of the first transcontinental railroad, the U.S. Pacific Railroad. This railway had to cross Nevada's towering mountains, Utah's uninhabited deserts, and build dozens of tunnels and bridges where people thought it impossible. An incredibly tough challenge at the time. Oh, but old Stanford overcame all obstacles to make it reality. Then in 1951, Frederick Terman, dean of Stanford's engineering school, decided to create an industrial park on campus, leasing university land to tech companies. This decision not only laid Silicon Valley's foundation, but also transformed Stanford's structure. He himself was thus honored as the father of Silicon Valley. But this decision faced huge social pressure then, as most universities disagreed. Professors believed commerce contradicted academic spirit, but Terman thought making money was good. He encouraged professors and students not just to research at Stanford, but to directly turn academic results into commercial products to drive regional economic growth. Hewlett-Packard's founders first answered Professor Terman's call. They borrowed a few $100s, invented their first electronic product, the audio oscillator, in a garage, launching their business empire. 50 years later, Stanford welcomed another key figure, then President John Hennessy. In his view, if university knowledge stayed within campus walls without broader social impact, it would hinder researchers' innovation drive. So, after becoming president in 2000, the campus entrepreneurial atmosphere intensified. According to Stanford's PR department, the origins of 5,000 companies trace back to creative Stanford faculty or students. Looking back, both Terman and Hennessy made the right choices. Today, nearly all of Silicon Valley's top tech companies were founded by visionary engineers.
Google's algorithm was written in a lab, just a few hundred meters from the computer science department.
Yahoo's first server sat right in the engineering school's lecture hall. At Stanford, pragmatism and idealism blend and coexist, where engineers' rigor meets the American West's adventurous spirit. But entrepreneurship requires more than just good ideas. It demands mature business thinking and enough room for trial and error. For the former, engineering dean James Plummer proposed training T-shaped engineers at Stanford. T-shaped engineers have deep technical roots, plus soft skills vital for future careers. Innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurial spirit. For the latter, the author believes there's no need to worry. Traditional capital favors proven business models, while venture capital embraces unproven new ideas.
So Stanford has always been a magnet for venture capital. Sand Hill Road west of campus, dubbed Wall Street of the West, attracts 28% of global venture funds.
As a Stanford student, you can find VC firms ready to serve you within 2 miles of campus. But when wealth comes easier than imagined, how do Stanford folks view the relationship between money and entrepreneurship? The author interviewed Stanford Business School alum Chris Larson. In his view, there's a fine line between making money and changing the world. You can't lean too far either way. Too far from money, you won't attract top investors or engineers since they want to know their stock's worth. But if too close to money, you lose the charm of inspiring people with dreams. Yet Silicon Valley's upside is its trust. If you do something revolutionary, money will be there, beyond imagination, so you can confidently change the world. Slightly different from Stanford's entrepreneurial spirit, MIT lets creativity happen in its purest form. Whether your research is useful or commercially viable doesn't matter. What matters is enjoying exploration and whether your invention improves human life. Take MIT's Media Lab. Founded to study human-machine interaction, but specific research areas depend entirely on researchers' passions. Most research labs worldwide, whether academic, industrial, or government, require project funding to match specific research directions, like curing certain cancers or securing computer networks. But at the Media Lab, there are no preset research agendas. Any quirky idea finds fertile ground. That's why over decades, it's birthed many whimsical, human-centered inventions. Like a runaway alarm clock. It rings while darting chaotically around until you finally catch and silence it. Ooh. Some scoff. Scientists gathering just to invent this? Yet Media Lab scientists remain unfazed and even smug. To them, invention should embrace playfulness. This research freedom stems from its unique funding model. With over $30 million annually from 60-plus giants like Google, Microsoft, LG, and Samsung, they fund without interfering, but get to observe creation processes in return. And if spotting commercial potential, companies can request licensing from the lab. The lab's freedom extends beyond research topics to its interdisciplinary approach. Most universities rigidly divide disciplines: computer science, engineering, social sciences, biology, physics, math, etc. Researchers often stay siloed, rarely connecting across fields. But 21st century challenges demand collaboration. Computer scientists, engineers, designers, artists, biologists interlinking, solving problems together in open, interactive environments. When founded 25 years ago, MIT President Jerome Wiesner and Professor Nicholas Negroponte foresaw this need. They believed science's excitement lies at disciplinary intersections. Hence, they invited artists alongside scientists to join the lab. Thus, multidisciplinary approaches became a tradition preserved at the Media Lab. The Media Lab has 25 professors, leading 25 groups, each with 6 researchers, all MIT grad students and PhD candidates. Many of these professors and students are polymaths. Anyone you meet here likely masters research in 5 different fields. Eventually, you realize there's no concept of disciplines here at all. This unrestricted, boundary-free approach perfectly preserves the purity of creativity. All right, let's briefly recap Stanford and MIT. both gathering brilliant engineers dreaming to change the world. The difference is, the former's core essence is entrepreneurial spirit. It proactively breaks walls between university and society, encouraging students to turn inventions into products for broader impact. Well, having covered four American universities, let's enter the third group, Oxford and Cambridge, to experience British elite education's spiritual charm. First, let's discuss Oxford. To the author, Oxford is the cradle of modern gentlemen, historically educating senior clergy, nobility, and wealthy heirs, inevitably blending vanity, extravagance, aloofness, and snobbery into its character. Fortunately, wealth and power faded with time. What truly remains at Oxford is love for knowledge and relentless pursuit of integrity, aesthetics, and noble character. The author collectively terms this gentlemanly spirit Oxford's most distinctive essence. British writer Jan Morris insightfully described, Oxford's uniqueness stems from its lost British order, essentially aristocratic, a society steadfast, tolerant, full of amateur passions, confident enough to embrace infinite diversity within rigid frameworks. British gentlemen dominate Oxford not physically, but as lingering spirits. This ethos also shapes its educational philosophy. For 5 centuries, colleges stubbornly maintained small cohorts, around 400 undergraduates, using accumulated wealth and aristocratic endowments. Through costly one-on-one tutorials, top experts tailor education to cultivate extraordinary individuals. You could call it a privilege, one that grants immense wealth and resource advantages. But crucially, if you possess exceptional talent and character, you can earn this privilege. So, what do privileged students study at Oxford? Similar to Harvard, MIT, and Stanford, interdisciplinary studies are highly encouraged here too. So, a chemical engineer studying water molecules might switch to researching human cells. An electronics engineer who built aircraft engines might repurpose remote sensors for biomedical research. Such cross-disciplinary work is common at Oxford, but uniquely, Oxford moves more deliberately than American universities. It maintains its own rhythm and sense of time. Take medical research. One U.S. team published 5,000 papers from just 5,000 clinical subjects. Quality varied wildly. Whereas on similar topics, Oxford teams might work years without publishing until achieving solid progress. Like their aspirin study, over 20 years, 500 hospitals, 20,000 participants, before drawing conclusions. Thus, Oxford scholarship pursues refinement, like a detailed artwork, carefully sculpted over time, uniquely distinctive, valuing lasting legacy over fleeting fame, growing richer through the ages. Oxford's time perspective blends mortal transience with spiritual eternity. Hence, Oxford's noblest products aren't entrepreneurs or engineers, but writers, poets, philosophers, and natural scientists. Now, let's discuss its peer, Cambridge, both millennium-old British institutions. We've seen Oxford rooted in British gentlemanly ideals. So what defines Cambridge's unique spirit? Vice-Chancellor Richard Allison repeatedly emphasizes Cambridge's values. A great university's clear, bold ambition is excellence across all major fields of knowledge. This is his interpretation of Cambridge's motto. From here, light and sacred drafts. To Richard, a well-educated Cambridge graduate must first master independent, rigorous, deep thinking, not relying on others' directives. Secondly, one should possess broad knowledge. Today, we live in an information explosion, too much redundant or false data to handle. So we must learn to filter swiftly. Thirdly, cultivate diverse friendships and flexible cross-disciplinary perspectives. As a collegiate university at Cambridge, even same college students might study completely different subjects. This cross-disciplinary interaction and atmosphere brings out students' best qualities. Externally, Cambridge's undergrad education is renowned for depth, rooted in discovery, innovation, and exploration. New fields require education and knowledge. Cambridge's intent is clear: educate undergraduates to reach and even transcend knowledge boundaries. Thus, students focus not just on known facts, but academic research and discovery, cultivating critical, logical, and probing thinking beyond mere knowledge. Let's briefly recap Oxford. Through unique educational strategies, it cultivates gentlemen, blending character and aesthetics. Rather than fleeting fame, it values leaving an enduring spiritual legacy through time. Cambridge demands students think independently, inspire each other, and strive for excellence in fields. Finally, let's focus on Heidelberg, Germany. No German city has received such praise. Goethe said it's where he lost his heart. Mark Twain claimed he'd never encountered a place so full of serene and enchanting charm. Heidelberg offers unsurpassed aesthetic beauty. Within this city lies a university famed for freedom. During the 1848 revolution, Heidelberg University pioneered German liberalism. Professors and students joined the Frankfurt Parliament, some fighting on barricades, saying no to aristocratic rule with blood. Defiantly. In 1849, Heidelberg's theology faculty awarded an honorary doctorate to James Pennington, an escaped American slave who fled to Heidelberg. When teaching Black people to read in America was illegal then, this reveals Heidelberg's pioneering freedom. Yet to the author, Heidelberg's most unique spirit lies in philosophical inquiry nurtured by freedom. Oh, the famous philosopher Hegel also served as a professor here from 1816 to 1817. According to the author, Heidelberg University became a place for philosophical speculation due to both timing and geography. First, Heidelberg is located at the junction of north and south. To the north is Marburg. To the south of Berlin are Tübingen and Freiburg, both strongholds of philosophy. As a hub for great philosophers, figures like Fichte, Schelling, Hegel, Feuerbach, and Heidegger have praised Heidelberg or stayed here. This drew not only German intellectuals, but also cultural elites from Austria, Hungary, and other countries, making the university a coveted academic center and piquing the philosophical atmosphere. Second, after Germany's unification in the late 19th century, its economy, technology, and culture expanded rapidly. Major businesses influencing German industry established around Heidelberg, creating a liberal political environment that made it Germany's freest, most international city, fostering relaxed philosophical discussions. So, third, Anglo-American universities are like well-planned cities. You need to map out your destination and path clearly. But in German universities, you might feel empty upon arrival. No one cares or tells you what to do. Yet lack of guidance also means no constraints. This free teaching style allowed philosophy to take root and flourish more easily in Heidelberg. Because in pursuing human knowledge, modern empirical science seeks certainty and control, but philosophy cannot. Moreover, empirical science knowledge advances constantly. Physics insights can be locked in formulas and passed down, but philosophical ideas are hard to fix and easily lost over time. So philosophy must continually return to classics, debating and elevating ideas in a free, inclusive environment. All right, so what do students study in Heidelberg University's philosophy department? Actually, the core academic training happens through seminars focused on close reading and discussion of classic philosophical texts. And philosophy professors guide students through classic texts, explaining word by word, clarifying concepts, and unraveling logical arguments. A book like Plato's Republic or Descartes' Meditations on First Philosophy might take an entire academic year to read. Uh, I, hmm, Kant's Critique of Pure Reason might take 2 years. Just 3 or 4 books total for undergrad. Having explored 7 universities across America, Britain, and Germany, our global tour is concluding. Truth is, whether world famous or domestic, higher education's core is about people. Not all aim to cultivate elites. But every university strives to nurture better individuals, nor do all make leadership their mission. Yet each teaches people to contribute to nation, society, and even the world in their own ways. Some universities stand independent or oppose society, yet eventually reconnect to some degree. Others maintain close societal ties but wisely keep a safe distance. Each university develops unique character through history, but higher education's shared pursuit, as Maslow said, is helping people become their best selves. After today's talk, what new perspectives do you have on university spirit? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section on The Spirit of Great Universities. That concludes our exploration of this book. Study notes are below the audio. See you next time.